Welcome to Empowered, Mind-Body Inspiration. The mind is the map to wholeness, wellness, health. The heart is the key to genius and inspiration. Join me and my guests as we explore how to release and rewire into who you truly are, unique, whole, and empowered. Please like, share, and subscribe. Spiral up, spiral out. Welcome, everyone. Today we have Wei Wei Hun, a naturopathic doctor and graduate of the Canadian College of Naturopathic Medicine in the year 2000. Wei Wei grew up in China and has returned for 2 summers to study acupuncture. She also has advanced training in homeopathy, Bowen therapy, NST, and visceral manipulation. She lives on a farm with her husband, 2 teenagers, 2 dogs, and 20 chickens. Wei Wei has much to share on where true health comes from, how to stay healthy during these times we find ourselves in, and we'll be sharing info on vitamin D, EMFs, diet, and more. I absolutely love the quote she shared that changed the way she views life from a Tibetan Lama. If you're on the right path, you will stretch yourself effortlessly. Let's see how this spirals out. Welcome, Wei Wei.
Hello, Jayne. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. So, Wei Wei, let's tell our people that are listening what it takes to become a naturopathic doctor first, and some of your specialty. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. I have bachelor degrees in Bachelor of Science from University of Toronto. So normally they require at least 3-4 years of undergrad degree before you enter the naturopathic college, and the school is a 4 years very intensive study, and the 4th year is 12 months long with the internship that you actually seeing patients every day with learning on the side. So, and afterwards you have this grueling examination to get your license. But what I see is actually the real learning started after I graduate, while I work with patients on a regular basis and continue taking many different courses in botanical medicine, acupuncture, homeopathy, body work, energetic body work, and counseling. Like, it's never ending. I think the naturopathic college gave me a good foundation in both, the natural therapy and the some conventional medicine, anatomy, physiology, microbiology, all the things. But the real learning started after I graduate and start working with patients.
True, right? Like we get the bases, and it's a lot of learning, but then you need to figure out what you specialize in and get really good at that.
Yeah. And the learning, because we cover so many modalities, I think if I have advice for people who want to go to naturopathic college is keep your eyes open and listen to your heart. Often there will be 1 or 2 modalities that really calling out to you that you want to invest more and learning more afterwards. Because when we graduate, we're literally like a general practice of everything. We know everything of different modalities in a general way, but we're not really specialized anything that can really help someone to make a huge difference on a lot of very difficult disease and condition, health condition.
Right. I fell in love with homeopathy when I was becoming an ND, and then I went to the Ontario College of Homeopathic Medicine to become a homeopath because I knew how much extra work it would take to be a good one, right?
Oh yeah, I often say to my students come to do preceptor, saying that homeopathy is when you spend so many hours, 100,000 hours to learn, and lots of hours to work on patients' case and to find the medicine. But when you find the right medicine, it gives you miracle results.
Right, when you find the right one, exactly. Yeah. So, Wei Wei, let's get into what you do to make yourself healthy during these interesting times that we live in. Can you just start maybe with vitamin D? Because you're quite the expert in that.
Well, there is a lot research showed how vitamin D is important for the immune system, not just for infection, cold and flu and COVID, but also for reduce cancer rate across the board, reduce allergies, reduce autoimmune conditions, reduce anxiety, depression, you name it. There's so much research out there about how important the vitamin D is. And in my practice, I test my patient on a regular basis to see where their vitamin D level is. And if it's below the level, I will, advise them to take more. And Health Canada used to tell the public take 1,000 IU vitamin D in the wintertime, and recently had just gone up to 2,500 IU per day. My experience, like as I was testing my patients, pretty much 100%. If they only take 1,000 IU, or they don't take it at all because nobody really tell them to take vitamin D during the wintertime, they come back very low or below the range low. So that's, that will be something that if I become an advisor of the Health Canada, I will say, let's put vitamin D test back to the public funded test again. Instead of now it's optional test, the patient had to pay out their pockets. And let's screening population on a regular basis, like we screen for cholesterol levels, and you will find how many people are deficient. And then I recommend the doctors to adjust the dose and suggesting the right dose for the patients. And afterwards, test again to see if the supplementation is working. And if you look at, again, there's a lot of research out there. People can just, find online that the majority patient who died from COVID or who have serious complications, when they test their vitamin D level, are extremely low. So one thing that Health Canada can do is to emphasize more about the importance of vitamin D on health and tell this through government webpage and mainstream media, so people get the message.
Well, yeah, and it's a really important message. Do you have any types of vitamin D that you prefer?
I prefer liquid dose than a tablets and pill, especially for older patients who have a compromised digestive system or absorption. Liquid form, it's easier to be absorbed because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin. Also, if you look at the liquid dose, liquid form, you want to make sure, look at the non-medicinal ingredients, make sure it's a healthy or organic oil that is added in, such as coconut oil, medium chain triglyceride as emulsifier instead of canola oil or soybean oil that has GMO in it.
Exactly. So you're taking a good type of oil with it.
Right. But I also want to mention that people has kidney disease or has compromised kidney function, or patient who has parathyroid condition, they should be very careful in terms of how much vitamin D they take. They should talk to their health providers to find out the right dose.
Well, and you're saying the best way is to get tested so you know what your levels are.
Yeah. I've seen people take a mega dose and the vitamin D level is still low. By the way, also there are two forms of tests, two kind of tests you can do in the blood test. One's a 25 hydroxy vitamin D. The other one is 125 dihydroxy vitamin D. When the later is the active form, the first is the storage form. I do in practice, I do see a few patients, not a lot. They were taking 10,000 IU vitamin D recommended by their doctors. But their 25-hydroxy, the most common one used in the blood test, still show they're borderline low or they're below the range low. So I test the other one and realized the other one, the active form of vitamin D in our system is quite high or in a good range. So in those cases, I would investigate if there kind of hidden toxicity or if there's a hidden infection going on, which caused the discrepancy of the two numbers.
Right. So they're taking a lot and the second number is high, but the first is low.
Yeah, because the doctor only testing the first number saying, hey, how come you're not getting the number up even though you're taking a very high dose?
Right. So they continue to take vitamin D.
Right, which can cause toxicity in some side effects.
Yeah. Right. So very important if the first number is low to check the second number or.
Yeah, especially if they already take quite a high dose of vitamin D and their number is still low, I would investigate more.
Yeah, makes sense. And what else do you suggest to keep healthy during these times?
Stress management. Stress have a huge impact on our immune system. When we're stressed, our immune system, I call the protective armies, are tired and sleepy and not able to fight against infection effectively. So I would recommend everybody else to make sure that you focus on stress reduction. And everybody has their own different approach. So I would definitely ask my patients what kind of things bring them joy and what kind of things bring them peace, and then go from there. And personally, I started to learn piano less than 2 years ago. And that has been a real good outlet for me to manage my stress because I'm literally musically challenged. I can say that to myself. I almost failed my high school music class. I barely hang there. I could not read music and I sing out of tone. So I never thought I could play an instrument. I always admire my husband, my kids. And then my husband bought me a 5-class gift certificate on my birthday and to try piano class. I said, okay, what the heck? I'll try it. And then after the few lessons, I realized, you know what? It's not as scary, as bad as I thought. And it brought me a lot of joy to realize that, hey, wait a moment, I'm not what I think I was. So that was very empowering. And I have a really good piano teacher. She's very encouraging. She knows I would never be Mozart, but I can be, much better than what I was. So I started having, daily practice, and my life is really busy. I probably have like 10, 15 minutes every day that I will sit on my piano. And when I play piano, I have to focus so much because it's a hand-eye coordination. I'm still trying to learn, to read the music and hear if I do it right, the beats. Like I can't think about anything else. So to me, it's like active inhibition to help me to forget about my worry, my fear, the things that have been stressing me. I have to focus fully to do this. But when I do this, good thing I'm learning piano, not guitar, because if I push the right key, it produces the right sound. So that helps. And the little piece of music that I'm able to play after working on it is extremely rewarding. So right. I realized how much it helped me with my stress. My husband actually even joked that he said, if we have some kind of, heated discussion or have a little friction, and he would ask, hey, wait, why don't you go play piano and we'll talk after? Because I'll be a better, calmer person afterwards. Yeah. Another thing I like is nature. Go for walks and work in my garden and play with my dogs and hang out with my kids, cooking with my kids, and go, I spend time. We do a lot of hiking as a family, and I love that. Yeah.
Nature is very empowering. So,
Very
so now we're talking about mind body, which is one of my favorite focuses. So, and what you place your mind on is what you create. So you're saying stay away from fear and
Yes.
rebalance yourself so that your immune system has a chance to be strong.
Yeah. And I was always a big fan of CBC News. And just in the last year, I find I listen less and less, and eventually I can't listen anymore. It's too negative and too much fear and just too much negativity. Every time I listen, I don't feel good. So I start to just listen to other things and music.
Yeah, I 100% look for alternative news. I've lost faith in mainstream media, and there is a lot of fear being spewed out by the media. So yeah, me too. I don't listen to mainstream media at all.
Yeah, like the things that we have been doing that is affecting our immune system through increased amount of stress. Like, our economy is in big trouble. How many people lose their job? How many, small business claim bankrupt and lose their house, and the kids have no school to go or no extracurriculum activity. And the lockdown and the fear, people are scared these days, and those will play a huge toll on the immune system.
Exactly. So let's take some of the fear out. You describe looking after your immune system like a garden.
Yes, I love gardening, and you can see my office. Got lots of plants in the home. Yeah. I have my living room is like a greenhouse. I think the plants is very healthy for us. It filter the air pollution and make us feel good. That's why when we walk and take a long stroke in the forest, we feel rejuvenated on all levels. And so with garden, what I want to say is that we have an immune system in our body, and the immune system has been evolved through millions of years of evolution, and its job is to keep us alive from the infection. We have a lot of viruses, bacteria, parasites, you name it, everywhere. Like, the phone we touch, the doorknobs, and, our kitchen countertops, and the food we touch, they're just like millions and millions of microbes. If we don't have immune system, we probably won't even survive to our first year birthday unless we live in the bubble, absolute bubble. So it's the same thing for, I realized through the gardening, is you can, like, there's viruses and the parasites and pests on the plants as well. If you only go after the pests, the viruses, you will always fail and you go nowhere unless you support the soil, unless you support the plants, that the plant is healthy and resistant to those infections and also invasive species. I can give you just a couple examples. We live in a farm, and the area has been farmed like a growing hay for many years when we bought it. And the soil is very depleted. It has not been fertilized, not been tilted, has not been taken care for a long time. And the field is covered by dog-strangling vine, which is a very, very invasive species. Like, you can never kill it. This weed can propagate like crazy in many different ways. And I have tried to pull them. I tried to tarp them. I tried do a small experiment and always fail. They just always come out. So we talked to a local organic farmer, and they say, well, why didn't you put some cover crops on? So we tilt it, but with tilting, we know it's not going to take care of the problems. And we start planting cover crops on it. So we plant sunflower, sorghum, soybean, radish, clovers. And that year in the fall, first of all, the acre we did that looks absolutely beautiful. Like there's thousands of sunflowers there, and we got a lot of, we also planted oats, and we got lots of like surprise harvest. I just pulled the outside part because it was so dense to walk in. We got probably a few 100 pounds of daikon radish. They're giant, they're huge and healthy. And then to my surprise, I looked, I cannot find a single dog strangling vine in that field. It's like biodiversity. The nature has a cure of everything, and the nature, the healthy plants, and as a good community has crowded out those invasive weeds. We were just so shocked. So now we're going to do it again in a different part of the land.
Right. And so how do you parallel that to us as humans? What's the message?
For humans, so that's instead of just depend on medications and vaccines to keep us healthy and social distance, I think we should look at our immune system, what we eat, what we drink, and stress reduction. I guess I would ask, what are factors that will boost our immune system? So we already talked about vitamin D. I want to talk about healthy eating. So healthy eating is like putting in fertilizers and good nutrients into the land. Our society have detailing so much in terms of the kind of food we feed our kids and the sick ones in the hospital. So nutritious food make a huge difference. Just want to give you an example. When I was studying acupuncture back then in China, I was working in the hospital, and there was a diabetic clinic that I stayed there for a short term. And then the food was amazing. Like they have very special dishes. They have like a fish, tofu. They have bitter melon. They have a very specific, it's called a dietary medicine to help with the patient recover. And then last year, when my father had a major neck surgery in Toronto, and I was there by his side for a few days in the hospital, I was so disgusted with the food that they feed the patient. My dad literally was like, I can't stomach this. Go get food for me. Or I go home and cook the food for him. It has no colors. It's probably microwaved, no nutrition value. So how does a patient supposed to heal, to recover, if they don't have the nutrients, the energy in their body? So that's what I mean about how important good nutrition is for our immune system to fight not just COVID, but we're talking about flu, cold, and cancer, other infections. There's actually, our food industry has changed so much. I want to mention a book that's really helpful for me. It's called The Pandora's Lunchbox. It's a book about the food industry evolution in terms of how much genetic modification, food additives, food texturizers, and food flavor, like artificial flavor, all the things that has changed the food we eat. So you find we're not as resilient as our great-grandparents who eat wholesome food, fresh food, and not genetically modified.
Exactly. So so you're talking about terrain.
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like clean the fishbowl. Don't add poisons to the fishbowl if someone is sick. Clean the fishbowl and with proper food, nutrition, and thoughts.
Yes. Yeah.
So important.
And the food, another thing I want to mention is how important about the healthy gut flora to the immune system. Like as a kid, the majority immune system is come from called the GALT, the gut-associated lymph system. As adults, our main immune system come from the thymus glands, and the healthy gut flora in our guts play a huge role on our immune system in terms of reduce the risk of allergies, autoimmune system, and infections. As a matter of fact, I the other day had a seminar on using biologics for cancer treatment. So it's like a gene therapy for cancer treatment, and it was promising in some areas. But one of the side effects they're looking at is triggering autoimmune reaction. So they also did some research. So why some people have autoimmune reaction? The body starts to attacking the healthy cells on top of cancer cells, what other patients don't. So they find one of the major factor is the biodiversity of the gut flora. And they also find interesting research about it. They did a population study. They find the Africans in the tribe tend to have, the North American population have 25% of the biodiversity of the gut flora in the African tribe people. And then they start to switch their diet. They feed the African tribal people North American diet for 2 weeks. Then they find the biodiversity of the healthy gut flora dramatically reduced. That means if they expose to infection, to toxicity, their body will more likely to cause massive inflammation and autoimmune response or allergic response compared to someone who has a good diversity in the gut flora.
Well, exactly. So what are the things that we're eating that really affect us in North America? And antibiotics are one of the majors, but that's a medicine or perceived medicine.
Yes, antibiotic for sure. And to minimize that use, only use when there's absolutely needed, because a lot of the time you actually can find alternatives that's safer and doesn't affect the population gut flora. Other things will be literally the Roundups, pesticides in the food, and also the food additives, food preserves. Also lack of resistant starch, which come from the roughage from the whole food, can all have a big impact on the gut flora and on the bacteria in our guts. They have done research saying that about 50 years ago, the average North American will eat about 30 to 50 grams of resistant starch in their diet. And now if we're lucky, we get 5 grams of resistant starch. Resistant starch are not being break down like other starch in our GI system. So they go all the way down to our large intestine, where they are the main food source for the gut flora. So if we're not eating the right diet with rich in resistant starch, then we can take all the probiotics. They're not going to last. They eventually are going to starve to die. And also on top of that, we got, all the junk food, and which are toxic to our healthy bacteria. I want to show, if someone wants to Google it, it's great. It's a podcast from CBC a number of years ago about this microbiologist, and he studied the gut flora, and he bribed his teenager son to eat McDonald's food for 2 weeks. So he examined his poop under microscope, see, okay, here's the population proportions of his gut flora. And then he asked his son to eat McDonald's food all the time for 2 weeks, only for 2 weeks. And by the 10th day, his son told his dad, "Dad, can we stop this experiment? I really don't feel good. I feel tired, I feel grumpy." But his dad said, please, just a few days, hang in there because I'm doing research. So after 2 weeks, and he examined his son's gut flora and realized there's a huge shift to the worse about his gut flora. There's pathogenic forms, the healthy ones are dwindling away. There's a big imbalance going on in his gut. And the most scary things is after a year, after his son stopped eating McDonald's food and go back to his original diet and healthy diet, after a year, his gut flora was still not 100% restored.
Wow. So he did a before and after, and so could see that it still wasn't restored.
That just tell you, and look at their diet. I mean, my son, my kids tend to, when they're young, tend to complain, Mom, why can't you pack those things in my lunchbox that other kids have? I was like, well, because I'm trying to protect you. I try to make sure you're healthy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Wei Wei, what are the types of fibers that are protective and get to the large intestine?
A lot of the resistant fiber are high in the whole grain, steel cut oats, brown rice, wild rice, but also, potatoes actually quite high, but potatoes can be heavily pesticided, so make sure you're eating organic potatoes. Root vegetables is a huge supplier of resistant starch. So any carrots and rutabagas and parsnips and squash, those things.
Right. And do you find the whole organic thing is difficult too, because sometimes they just spray with a different pesticide, so you're not even sure. But I guess growing your own would be ideal.
Yeah.
And some of these
everyone had a green thumb or had the space around.
Like you. But do you find peeling the potato helps, or do you need the skin?
Oh, here's my thought. I think I do peel the skin because of the lectin level. A number of nightshade plants has very high lectin level. Lectins are a molecule the plant produce as a self-protective mechanism. So if we consume a lot of those molecules, some people, not all of us, will have increased inflammatory response. So it's good to minimize that consumption. And they tend to be high in potato skin, and also tomatoes. We know nightshades, family tomato may not be good for people with arthritis, but guess what? The highest concentration is in the skin and in the seeds. And Italians, the traditional Italians, they are smart. They are very wise people. When you see how they prepare their tomato pasta and sauce, they get rid of the skin, get rid of the seeds. So they reduce those risks. Same as beans and legumes and lentils and chickpeas, they also can be high in lectin level. But if you use a pressure cooker or Instant Pot to cook them, it can reduce 90% the lectin level.
Right.
And they're quite high in resistant starch as well. Yeah.
So most vegetables in general, I imagine, would be better than processed food.
I do want to mention, sometimes peeling doesn't always work because they will spray the plants throughout their life. So what I read is the pesticide level in the food is not just limited on the skin; it can be inside as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So best is to buy local, buy organic. Yeah, I think I would trust my local farmer more than the big chain store about their organic food come from Mexico. And take your kids and your family, go visit those farms that you want to get food and see how they operate and talk to the farmers, see how they grow the vegetables. That's how you can build a trust and also see how much energy it takes to grow food and how we, really not paying the real price for a good quality food. Like when I grow my vegetable in my garden, I keep telling my husband, honey, it's a lot cheaper just go out and buy some organic food than the amount effort and the money invested in my own garden, but I do it just for, I like it.
Yeah. I've had success years and years when I'm too busy and the weeds just take over. It does. It takes a lot of effort.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then, so any tips on gardening?
Try not to tilt once you establish the bedding, because tilting will disrupt the microorganisms that is very important for nutritional supply and well-being of your plant. And then another thing is to, if you can enrich the soil, which is the terrain, with good nutrients, not just the phosphate, sulfur, and potassium, but micronutrients from organic form, like from manures, from seaweeds, and from compost. Then your plant will be not just give you a much higher yield, but more resistant to cold, to pests, to disease. And the food also tastes better.
Right. And does it help with weeds as well when you do that?
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And using companion plants. It's about building healthy communities, right?
Right.
Like us. If we're alone, we're a lot weaker, and our immune system compromised because we're social beings. We need human connection. We need community. We need a sense of belonging to feel fulfilled and joy.
Any tips on companion plants?
I think there's a lot of good website about that. It really depends on what you want to grow. So each year I always do my research. I plan on my, do a little graph of if I want to grow certain kind of food, I'll make sure I design it with their companion plants around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they help control weeds and pests.
That's right. Yeah, they help each other in terms of nutrition, supplies, like the corn, the black and the green bean. The corn become the support system for the bean to climb, but the bean is consolidates the nitrogen, which help with the corn. Corn need a lot of nitrogen to grow. And rotating your plant as well. So don't try to grow the same plant on the same plots year after year, rotating them. So because different plants have different uptakes of nutrients and needs of nutrients. So if you rotate them, they will be healthy, be healthier year after year. Same as our food. Try not to eat the same food all day. All the time. I always tell my patient, diverse your food intake, vary your recipes, and don't eat the same breakfast or lunch. And get out your comfort zone. Try some, different spice and different food from different country.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a saying actually in China saying you need to eat 20 different kind of food a day to get a complete nutrition supply.
Right? Food is medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful. Let's jump to EMFs. Just share a little bit about that.
Okay.
And before you do, I just want to make a comment that we have become, in general, people have become so reliant on food just showing up at the grocery store that we've lost our connection to the earth. And even, it does take effort, but the effort that you take is connecting to the earth and de-stressing, and we are part of the earth. I think that's the message, right?
Yeah, and aware what we eat as well.
Yes.
Food to bring people together, right?
Yes, right.
It's a celebration. It's not just nutrition food, about conversation, about connection. Yeah.
And we're missing all of that right now. It can't be healthy.
No.
Okay, let's jump to EMFs, a big topic right now, and just some tips.
There is a lot of information out there that is not being spread by the mainstream media. And there's a lot of research data out there as well for people to look. So I just want to mention there's some good organizations in Canada that has extensive knowledge and support and tools for people who are interested in that topic or concerned. One that I highly recommend is called Electrosensitive Society, EHS. In their website, there's a lot of awesome information and research. I would just finished a 4-day conference called Medical Conference on EMF in at the end of January. One of the take-home message that I got is there's overwhelming research on how it affects our immune system, contribute to cancer manifestation, how it affects our nerve system, cause inflammation in the brain, affecting our immune system. The EMF actually can make the bad bacteria multiply a lot faster and inhibit our healthy gut flora from multiply as normal. Personally, I treat a lot of patients with Lyme disease and co-infections. There's some good research showing in Sweden and Europe about one Lyme bacteria exposed under EMF, like cell phone routers, and they multiply a lot fast. And so that is tell you if you have some kind of infection in you. Actually, lots of us, especially with chronic illness, do have some form of chronic infection. When you expose yourself to a lot of EMF, you can give the bug an upper hand, and your immune system actually take a beat from it. Another thing that I learned, I was actually in awe, is when you look at the meta-analysis, the research that's been funded and done by the industry. I believe if I remember the number right, it's a majority, but it's like almost as high as 70% of those research indicating EMF is safe for the public health. Okay, and 30% shows no, it's not safe. And then you look at all the research that has been done by, sponsored by government or third party that has no connection with the industry. 80% of them shows it's harmful for health in a somewhat different way.
Yeah, and
to tell you, when you read any kind of data research, ask who found the research, where's it come from. There's kind of conflict of interest before you accept the results.
And I read somewhere too that they were using the amount of exposure far below what was actually that we were actually exposed to. So that skews the research as well.
Yeah.
But look at who's doing the research. Right.
And look at if you someone still have their iPhone or cell phone instruction booklet when it comes when they buy the phone, they should read all the fine prints. Somewhere they will find it says the phone's supposed to be an inch away from your body to be on a safe level of EMF exposure. Most people don't know. They put their phone there. They put their phone in the bra, in their pockets, right on them. And when it comes to laptop, they recommend the industry actually recommend to have like a foot, like 20 centimeters away from your body. I mean, I see my teenager kids put their laptop on their thigh, on their belly, and do the work. I tell them, like, honey, this is too close to you. Like, there's actually experiment research measure the radiation effects on the body when you put your phone on your laptop and working.
Right. And is that even considering what 5G will do?
It's only stronger. 5G is stronger. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's being rolled out with people totally unaware of the health effects.
I think one thing is the government mainstream media are not balanced in sharing the information from the public. You get lots of people, they're just barely surviving. They're busy. They don't have the scientific background to really comb through the data, the research, to distinguish, what's real, what's not, what's, what research has the flawed design. They just get the news from the mainstream media, right? So when the mainstream media only tell part of the truth instead of the whole truth, to me, that's lying.
Yeah.
That's misleading.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on.
Mm-hmm.
And, and they sell it as, oh, it's going to be faster, better, glossier, but none of the downside is told to anyone.
That's right. So hiding the information, to me, is like lying, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we encourage going to that website and doing a little bit of research ourselves. But what can you do to help with EMF exposure? I know I use a grounding mat.
Mm-hmm.
I've experimented with sleeping on it, and I cannot believe the difference in my energy levels. And it's supposed to protect against EMF.
I think first you may want to start with measuring. So there is some good device you can buy, but they're not always cheap. And the Electrosensitivity Society has a lot of tools as well. As you want to find out what is your exposure at home, at work, especially where you sleep at night, and then find a solution for that.
Yeah. And do they suggest any solutions on that site?
They do, yes.
They do. So so you could find a device to find out what you're sleeping with, what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and sometimes just as simple as change the location of your bed.
Yeah. So you're not as exposed, because we sleep for hours at a time.
That's
so
right.
Not to be exposed at that time is really helpful.
And sometimes it's about removing your router or put your cell phone outside your bedroom to charge, or on the other end of the bedroom, so you can still hear alarm and you actually have to get off the bed to shut it down, but you're away from the radiation. One thing about EMF is distance is your friend. So if you can work on the distance, the radiation strength drops dramatically with distance.
Right. And is that different with 5G?
You know what? I actually don't know.
Yeah, because normal EMF, I believe that's the case, but I do question 5G if it's not going to just be blanketed everywhere, But I'm sure there's information on the site. So it's the Electrosensitive Security
Society.
Electrosensitive Society.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm going to put that link in the write-up so people can find it. And
electrosensitiveSociety.com.
Okay. Yep. And we'll put that in the write-up. So Wei Wei, how do people find you? Or first, what would you leave them with? One last nugget of from your heart, some knowledge.
I think it's more of a message. If people can tell their friends, their family, and voice their concerns to the policymakers, to our government, to our medical system, that look at the root cause of our suffering, and look at the collateral damage of our approach that we take for the COVID, and think out the box and look at and have a different approach, more holistic approach, as address the well-being of the population, boost the immune system of the population, feed the population well, and help with stress reduction, and focus on prevention and empowering people to take control of their health. And then we will learn from our mistakes and learn from history, and the history don't have to repeat itself.
Right. And like do some research. And I think for me, it's always follow the money too.
Mm-hmm.
Just so you're aware, right?
Yeah. And don't just be complacent. Put your critical thinking head on and ask the questions and demand the answers.
Yes. Because, I'm always amazed at how so many just take the information from the experts and don't even do the research. Like if you were going to buy a new car, you would do more research.
Yeah, you won't just look at the manufacturer information, right? You can check consumer report and other people's opinion. And yes, exactly.
Yeah. Beautiful. And how do people find you?
I work at Circle of Life Wellness Center. It's a multidiscipline clinic. We have acupuncture, chiropractor, and psychotherapies. We work together. We call like little healing village that we work together to help people find their health back and also empower them to make better decisions down the road, to taking control of their health.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this really empowering information. And you are a wealth of knowledge. So I appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you, Jayne, for giving me this opportunity.
A beautiful naturopathic doctor, Wei Wei Hun. And for everyone out there, don't forget, don't give away your power to anyone else. Be the creator of your own life. Spiral up, spiral out.